It's safe to say that DC Studios has went through multiple mishaps already, because like half of the original slate that was announced on day one is officially dead and or in permanent limbo. So James Gunn does provide us with an update and talks about what happened with Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. So let's cover everything here and then talk about the future that he also teases. So James Gunn is once again talking about the announcement of DC Studios Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters and talking about how there was problems, how there was course corrects, and how there was changes, which we're going to cover in this video. And I just need to interject here with a post edit because I kind of realized that this is actually a part 2 to the first video about the DC Studios plan. So think of this as a part 2 companion piece. If you haven't seen that one, go check it out before you watch this one. Anyways, this is more about what James Gunn had to say about the changing tide, if you will, within DC Studios, projects that were announced, how development of the DC Universe Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters was affected from the announcement to where they are now and what they're developing, sort of the highs and lows, if you will, and what they're aiming to do with Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters, which again is an estimated 7 to 10 year plan that they've already mapped out, that he talks about how it's evolving and sort of flows with adjustments and things like that. And one thing that he specifically said, which many people reached out to me and wanted me to talk about, was him talking about how everything is formed starting with creature commandos and how it evolves and how that's going to affect Chapter 1 and how there's been substantial delays and cancellations of multiple projects. So that's exactly what we're going to get into because, believe it or not, they are still going to be canceling projects that were announced or are in development. So one thing people need to be aware of is the fact that just because it's announced and there is a DC Studios, it doesn't mean that the project is 100% safe and they can toss all the money that they want at it. This is a common misconception that people have even with Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios wanted 3 Eternals films. You know what you're not getting? 3 Eternals films. Because again, there are shareholders and people you have to answer to, and plans change according to reception. Now, it's safe to say that everything so far has been met overwhelmingly positively, besides vocal minorities, I would say, that the DC Universe has hit home run after home run after home run 3 times in a row now. Great. But again, everything isn't safe. So when they announced Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters, here's everything that was announced. So out of this entire thing, Creature Commandos, out, getting a second season. Waller, dead. Superman, out. Lanterns, still alive, coming at us next year. Authority, dead. Paradise Lost, dead. Brave and the Bold, still happening. Booster Gold, dead. Supergirl, happening. Swamp Thing, dead. To make things even crazier, a Blue Beetle animated series in the universe, which is also a sequel to Blue Beetle, is happening. Swamp Thing was, by all accounts, and it's my theory that it was 100% replaced by Clayface doing the same idea, body horror. Wonder Woman has been added to the slate, and there's multiple other projects we've heard. So James Gunn addressed this, and he said that what happened is you hire a bunch of writers, you hire a bunch of talent, and everybody starts working on it. And you have great ideas. Everybody's working on their projects. You get complete whole stories and you get excited. You announce these projects. They're great. You're looking at them, you're going, we're going to make them. And of course, he's talking about multiple projects like Swamp Thing. You got James Mangold to sign on. Of course you want that to happen. The dude who did Logan, you know? Of course you want him on there. And then Mangold can't crack it. And he says that this is some of the issues that they have. Because there's a lot of problems you run into. Sometimes the story, you got a great idea, but you just can't crack it. And then he says, you look at also what's happening over on HBO. They want more content, but you can't just make that DC Studios only. So you got to be careful. You got to take longer with some seasons. You got to put out content in between sequels, like Peacemaker Season 1 and 2. So he says that it's always changing and that the outlook for the future is great. And that's when he teases more cancellations, but also more announcements. Okay, so to further talk more about everything going on and to elaborate a little bit further, he says that just because something was announced or we confirm it, he says, don't guarantee that it's going to happen until it's out and until they're shooting it. So again, one project that they announced and then canceled was Sergeant Rock, a World War II film featuring our Sergeant Rock, who appears alongside G.I. Robot in Creature Commandos. That was ready to go, and then it was canceled. And then it was brought back, and it sounds like they're going to be shooting it next year, but they had to revisit the budget and everything to adjust accordingly. And he's saying that this is going to keep happening. Sometimes they might gear up, they might be ready to just shoot the entire thing. Something goes wrong and the project is scrapped. Now, the reason we hear about it here is because we're focusing on this. There are a lot of projects that go through this, guys. This isn't just exclusive to these projects. I know people who have sold scripts to studios. They gear up, they start assembling teams, and then it's pulled. It happens. Sometimes other things pop up, better ideas, but it sounds like that he really does want to focus on everything that they announced happening. And one thing he said was that looking down the road, they're aiming to announce projects that he knows are going to happen and not jump the shark again and focus on delivering announcements that will actually become projects, because he doesn't want the talk around DC Studios to be, oh, they canceled half of what they announced, which again they have because they announced Chapter 1 obviously way too early. But they needed something to get people excited. So I think we got to kind of meet them halfway and realize that everything that's announced isn't a guarantee. Marvel Studios and Marvel Entertainment scrapped multiple projects, and they don't get the same amount of heat, Like, they canceled well over 10 TV projects and close to 5 films. So let's give DC the chance that we gave Marvel for such a long time. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.